So, who wants to tell everybody what are booleans?
Brendan Mendes.
True or false?
True or false? Yeah, very simple answer. What does boolean blocks look like? What are the characteristics of those blocks?
Come on.
So if I see them in Snap, how would I recognize it's a boolean block in Snap?
Everybody says it's green.
Yeah, it's green.
And it has 6 sides, she says.
Yeah, and has 6 sides. That's right, absolutely. Perfect. This class is learning fast. That's good. So class, I've changed the rhythm of syllabus a little bit, and we are going to cover variables first, than rest of the topics, because variables are something that are going to come in every chapter after this. So let's start with variables today. So you can write in your journals, what are we going to learn in today's lecture is how to use variables to track values throughout a program. So do you guys remember we did ask block where we had an answer field? So you ask the user, ask what's your name and wait, and answer will show the value that is input. You remember this answer thing?
Yeah.
What was this answer doing?
It shows the answer what the person typed in.
Sorry, please say that a little loudly.
It just shows what the person typed in.
Yeah, it shows the person what the person typed in. And can you actually use this value in other inputs? Like, let's say I want to say that in operators, if I want to do is answer equal to something, can I do that?
Yes.
So that means it is somehow storing the value as well, right? It's not just telling us what the person has input, but also it's storing its value somewhere. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. And you remember we talked about a concept that you write a value in answer, and after that you write another value. The last value will be stored. So it overrides the value. Only the last value is stored in answer field. You remember that concept? So essentially what this answer did is exactly what variables are. So it stores a value, and answer is something that the Snap team has defined for us to use, but we can define our own as well. So as we talked about, it stores and remembers the value that we put in, and it overrides the old value when a new value is assigned to it. And second of all, understand that when you look at this, it says answer, so it's very clear to us what is it trying to do, right? It's trying to save the answer. So the text is descriptive. We'll come to the details of it in a while. So essentially a variable, you can define your own variables like that, which will be a storing place for the values that you want to store. For example, I can define. So in the variable block, you have this option, make a variable. So you can define objects like answer yourself as well. So let's say if I say a variable, I create a variable by the name var and store and say it for all the sprites, its value is currently 0, and I can use it to store any value. For example, let's say I use a set block and I say set variables value var is equal to 2. If I do that and I click on this, you see the value is changed to 2. And I can use this further in any operation, anything. Like if I want to say divide variable by 2. So you'll see the variable that I created at the top here in variable block. I see, let's say divide variable by 2. If I do that, it will show its value is 1, right? So essentially what is it doing is it's storing the value that I'm adding to it, whatever I try to set the value in it, it will store that, and then we can use it for further modifications, further changes to it. So for example, if in the case of answers, let's say you asked Mr. Kondo, hey, you asked three inputs, right? What's your name? And you want to store all the values. Then what you can do is you can create multiple variables. Let's say I create name 1, and I create another variable which is and I'm not name 2. So if I create two variables and now I want to ask the program 2 times what is your name and store them in different values, then I can say ask what's your name and wait, and then set name 1 as answer at that point in time. Whatever the user will input, it will be stored in name 1, and then I ask it again, and then I say set the value of second name. Oops, sorry, I don't need that. Set the value of name 2 as answer again. Now, if I run this, so what is my program going to do? It's going to ask me a name. Let's say, if I say name 1 will store Mark, and if I say Kondo, it will store the second part of the name. So you saw that answer is not overriding it. I can use both the values. Also, answer is finally set to the last value, but now I have a way to get access to both the values that I used. I did not lose the first part of the value that I put in. Is it making sense?
Yes. Yes.
And for example, if I ask you to do a comparison that, hey, compare that the first value, the first name that I'm putting in, name 1 is Mark and second name is Kondo, you have a way to compare that. You're not losing that value. In the example that we did yesterday, for example, the triangle thing, right? So we had 3 sides of the triangle and we wanted to verify 3 rules. A plus B is greater than C, B plus C is greater than A, and C plus A is greater than B. Now, if I would run that, if I would just ask Mr. Kondo, hey, give me 3 sides, and I will run the program, how will I store the value of those 3 sides? I need a way where I can put in those values and finally compare it somehow, right?
Yes.
Is it confusing, or is it should I explain it with another example?
No, I think it's right.
Okay. Please make sure this is a very important concept. If you don't understand it, raise any questions, because this is the foundation of all the programs we are going to do in future. Okay. Another thing to note is you see I named it as name 1 and name 2. So a ground rule to follow whenever you're creating a variable is, most of the people what they do is generally, even sometimes I do that mistake when writing my programs, is I make a variable, say X, and I'm done with it. I don't explain in the name itself what it is doing. Sometimes it's okay, but when you're actually creating too many variables, you're using that variable in your program, try to write a name that is descriptive, that is reflecting what you're using your variable for. For example, in the sides of triangle example, instead of saving it as A, B, C, D, I would prefer we should save it as side 1, side 2, side 3. Something like that, which reflects the name why you're using it. It won't make any difference into the program. Your program will run exactly the same way you use it if you use a name differently. But the problem is, tomorrow after if you go back and look at the same program, it will be easier for you to understand, because you won't remember what you put it as, what you referred A to, what you referred B to. So essentially put that as a give it a name that is descriptive enough. That will make you remember what you used it for. So one other concept of variables is they are independent. If you see, name 1 is set differently, although I assigned it the same value answer, and name 2 is set differently. to different value, although I assigned it to answer. So name 1 and name 2 are not dependent on each other. Whatever value is stored in name 1 will not be affected by name 2 even if I assign them to each other. So what I mean by that is, let's take another example. I create a variable var1 and I create another variable var2, and I initially set var1 to 2 and I set var2 to 3. What is it gonna do? It is gonna store the value of var1 2 to var1 and 3 to var2, right? Now if at some point in time I decide that let's do set var1 to var2, if I say let's make them equal, and after that what is it gonna do? If I click till now, it's gonna make both of them 3, right? Once I execute the second line. Is that okay?
Yeah.
But what if I change the value of var2? What will happen? If I change the value of var2 by 1, what will be the value of var1 and var2 at this point in time if I execute this change value of var2? What will be var1? 3. And what will be var2? 4. Why did var1 not change to 4? I set var1 to var2. Why did it not change that?
Because you said change var2 after you said set var1 to var2.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So essentially what that means is, although I did assign the value changed, whatever was stored in that variable changed, but after I'm done, it's not affecting it. It's not affecting the value. Once I just assigned the value, but after that if I'm changing var2, it's not going to impact var3. It's not going to make it equal after that. So it's only that one operation that happened, and after that they are independent. Okay? So let's go to assignment and pull up 3.1 variables. Think of a number. So this is a very fun game we're gonna make today, and it's a very small game. It should be done in next 10 minutes. So what is gonna happen is, your program is gonna think about a number, and then you're gonna ask the user input a number. If the number is equal to the number that program guessed, you're gonna say, hey, that's right, correct, you got the answer. If not, you're just gonna say, hey, sorry, it did not work. So let's say if I choose a random number from 1 to 10, let me be the computer, and let's say Mr. Kondo is inputting the value. So Mr. Kondo, give me an example of the number, a random number from 1 to 10.
Lucky number 7.
Sorry, that's a wrong number. Try again.
3.
3, that's right. Absolutely, I even thought of 3. So, you see, I didn't tell Mr. Kondo what's the number I'm thinking of, but if my variable is having that same random number, then you just show the answer, hey, that's right. Okay? And another thing, if you don't know how to get the random numbers, just use this block. Pick random numbers and you put the value whatever range you want to define. So this will pick any random number between 1 to 10, and I change it to 100. It will pick any random number from 1 to 100. Okay?